Have you fallen victim to subscription traps? That's what we're talking about today. I'm Aaron Young, and Investment Insight starts now. Great to be with you or watching Investment Insights presented by The Investor's Way. Each episode we dive into the world of wealth creation and provide practical tips of how you can master your money. Now, subscriptions are the go-to revenue model at the moment, but are they draining your finances? To explore the impact of that on your financial future, welcome back Andrew Woodward from The Investor's Way. Great to see you.
Good to be here, Aaron.
We live in a time where everyone is so conscious about budgets and money and where is my money going. But you check your bank account sometimes and you say, where has the money gone? And often it is subscriptions we signed up to and forgot about.
Yeah, and look, it's become a much broader business model because businesses have realised that laziness of the Australians.
Well, they get the money up front, which is great.
Yep.
They sign you up to something long term. They woo you with all sorts of deals, and they make it really hard to get rid of, even if you want to.
And so for businesses, fantastic. They don't have to start from scratch every month. So they've got this recurring revenue, and then they're just building on top of that each month. So it's a fantastic business model. But for personal wealth creation, not so much. Yeah,
well, talk to us about some of the traps we can get into. I think about streaming services in particular, where one's got a show and so you sign up to it and forget to cancel. And then all of a sudden you've got every single streaming service and you think, but it's only $10 a month. But it's not anymore. They've all gone up.
Yes.
And then, of course, you end up with 5 or 6 of them and you're looking at hundreds of dollars each month.
That's right. And then thousands of dollars every year. And then that creates that whole cost of living crisis that we're talking about. It's sitting right there in front of us without us really doing anything about it. But the key trap is the honeymoon period.
What do you mean?
So all the subscription services use it. Try us out for 7 days or 30 days for $1 or for free. And then we'll just hit you every month at whatever their rate is, whether it's $5, $10, $15, $20, whatever the number is. And they rely on us to try them out because we're desperate to watch that new show or series. And so we try them out, completely forget about the honeymoon period, and before we know it, we're locked into a recurring model.
But they've also changed their business model where once upon a time Netflix would drop a whole season at once, meaning that you could sign up for that 7 or 14-day period, watch the whole thing and get out of there. They've realized that that isn't very good business for them. So they've switched it to one episode dropping a week or sometimes every fortnight, meaning that they're going to get you signed up. So the challenge being that by the end of that 8-episode series, you've probably forgotten to cancel.
You've forgotten to cancel and forgotten why you signed up in the first place.
Or when you signed up.
And when you signed up, because not only have you then said, well, I've bought into this series. I want to see how this series ends. And so, like you said, if they're drip feeding that series to you, you're hanging on every next episode. You're not going anywhere until you've seen that episode. And like you mentioned, by that stage, you forgot when you signed up, you forgot when the honeymoon period finished, and potentially why you even signed up in the first place.
I think about the start of the Emmys where the hostess got on stage and said, and welcome to everybody watching on CBS and Paramount Plus. And just a reminder, you've got 6 days to cancel from here on in, right? And it's become a bit of a thing in the industry, but obviously it's the way that many media companies are surviving. Let's talk about some other types of subscriptions. I want to tell you a story that happened to me where I was between cars and decided to go hire a car at the end of my street. I needed to go to the shops, had to buy some big objects. It wasn't going to work on public transport. Signed up to what I thought was a one-off cost to use it. But after 3 years, I noticed in my bank statement, it took me that long to work it out, that it actually was a $50 a month membership fee on top of when you actually hire the car. So that trip to go buy something cost me so much money after 3 years. There's all sorts of tricks that are being used.
And that, just so you can do the mental math, that was $1,800 for that trip. And that's, again, what these subscription models, again, a trap, but it's what they rely on is people forgetting. These models do not work as well or at all if we're vigilant in turning them off when we've finished using them. And that would obviously lead to an adjustment of how they work. But at the moment, because the gym model was one of the first, where you sign up to the gym and then you just pay monthly. And for most people, it works. If you look at it, I sign up for my 30, 50, 60, whatever it is these days per month to go to the gym. If I go 4 times a week and there's 4 weeks a month, it all works out at a nice rate and you're quite happy. until you stop going 4 times a week,
Yeah.
and then you're down.
Or
to
they
once a
sign
month.
you up to 12 or 18 months and you move house away from that gym and it doesn't work for you anymore.
Yeah. So there are a lot of traps of being in these things, and we've been talking a lot on Investment Insights about the cost of living crisis, and we were talking on a recent episode about where can people start to address their money pressures, and I highly recommend people use this episode as a impetus to undertake a subscription audit.
I found myself doing that, but also found it really hard to do it. And I'm not going to give tips because you're the tip guy. But one thing that did work for me was changing banks.
Right.
Because all of a sudden, you would receive emails from out of the woodwork, because a lot of these subscription services, they don't want to contact you because they don't want you to know that they're actually charging you. And they only start to contact you when the money stops going into them, which was how I was able to work out which subscriptions that I actually signed up to. It had become that difficult.
And I had the same experience just in the last couple of weeks, where I've got some subscription services attached to my business. And one of them I had paid annually to get the big discount, and I got the reminder to say that my credit card had expired and I needed to update my details, and that was a reminder for me to cancel that one. So you're right, they don't want to contact you because that's just reminding you that you're on their system and you're paying them, and it's the opportunity for you to get out. So a subscription audit might be confronting, but as we've already identified throughout this conversation, it's the opportunity to save $50, $100, $150, $200 a month, which then adds up over a year to be the deposit for an investment property or the start of a stock portfolio. A lot of people will say to me, I just don't have enough to start. But then when they sit down and go through the process of identifying how they're spending their money, suddenly we do identify money that could be better used for investing.
I also think for a lot of young people, I found myself in a trap just recently. You've just reminded me where I was on my Instagram and I was flicking through, and a product that spoke to me jumped up, and I thought, oh, it's probably $30, I'll sign up to this. What I didn't realize is not only did the product not arrive ever, but also they'd signed me up to a 3-month subscription to replace the product when they believed I would run out. Trying to get out of that subscription from a company that isn't using Australian consumer laws was an absolute nightmare. So it isn't so much just about what you try and get out of, but it's that signing up and being really careful from the very beginning of doing your research, I would imagine, about the company you've signed up to.
Absolutely. Like if you are going to be signing up to these type of services via a social media feed, that is one of the biggest traps, is that they're not based in Australia.
Correct, which means that the shipping, they didn't ship to Australia even though they were advertising in Australia. And that was where I was quite frustrated with it. And the whole process and amount of energy it took to get out of it took weeks, months.
Yeah, and again, a lot of people don't put any value on that time, but if you were to put some value on that time, not only did it cost you the 3-month subscription, but also all that time
and stress,
to get out of it.
Right?
And
stress, I think stress these days more than anything is the thing that we very much want to avoid there as well. All right, so when we're having a look at where to begin when we talk about doing an audit of subscriptions, how do you do it?
So as most of these things are paid for by credit or maybe direct debit, pull out a bank statement just for a month or two.
And from every account you have as well,
Every
right?
account you have, and just scroll and see what's being taken from your account. Sometimes it takes a bit of effort because a lot of these people will sign you up via maybe your Apple ID.
Yes, that is so true. And it can be in your actual Apple account on your iPhone where you've got this subscription.
That's right, and the charge on your statement will just say Apple. And you may not know what that is. So you've got to then go to your Apple account and look at what are all of these subscriptions. The good thing about the ones in the Apple ID are pretty easy to cancel. But there are others where you're going to have to pick the phone up and actually speak to a human and cancel the ones that you don't need.
And they try and talk you out of it, right? You think about some of the pay TV operators who are famous for going out of their way. Now, it can also be used positively as a way to try and convince them to lower the costs if it's something you really want to keep. And that's something that I think any of us who've caught up these people, they do want to keep you because they'd rather some money than no money, right?
Absolutely, and they know, like any good business knows, that it's a lot cheaper to keep an existing customer than to acquire a new one.
Yes.
And so even that process, work out the ones that you don't need, get rid of them. The ones that you think you need in your life or want in your life, and there's no problem with that. Keep them, but pick the phone up and just say, look, I'm thinking of cancelling, and see what deal you'll get. And the longer you've been with these people, the more likely they'll offer you something.
Talk to me, we often talk about the psychology of money. Talk to me about the psychology that goes on here, because quite often when we really want something, or we think we really want something, or we've just been to dinner and a friend has said, have you seen this show on this subscription service, and you sign up to it over dinner after a few drinks without thinking about the long-term impact of what was a $20 decision per month, as you say. The psychology of that, and then the psychology of cancelling, but also as you're cancelling. I mean, I was cancelling something recently, it was a web page, and it just kept asking me, are you sure, are you sure, are you sure? Obviously, there were 5 or 6 different pages and steps trying to convince me to cancel, change my mind. What do we need to stick with when we're making these decisions?
So I think the key thing here is, if you are going down the path of cancellation and they're going to put all those roadblocks in the way, is to stick to your guns. You've made the decision, you've taken that proactive step to start the process to cancel. If they're going to put obstacles in your way, just see it as a challenge to get to the end, to get it cancelled. But in terms of the psychology of money, one of the things that comes up in this all the time is, if we had to exchange physical cash for these things every month, so we had to go somewhere and exchange cash, there's a link as we do that between that exchange of cash and our brain that says, that costs me X amount of my time. And that connection is made whenever we exchange physical cash. But when it's just happening in the background on a credit card statement, that doesn't happen. And we're not getting
We also think that the money is so small per month that don't really notice it. It's one of those things we're going to have. But I would imagine that from a long-term investment point, we're really losing out because our money could be spent elsewhere.
Yeah, if you put $200 a month into an investment calculator and did that for 20 to 30 years, the number would blow most people away.
I just ask you, you seem to be able to rattle them off the top of your head.
It is a number that could very easily be a 7-figure number.
Wow.
If you were that consistent.
Yeah.
And definitely it will be a 6-figure number.
All right. Well, luckily we don't have a subscription model here at Ticker to cancel, so keep watching us. That's how we operate anyway. Andrew, always appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
And of course, a reminder to you, if you're watching this, that the program you are watching is for informative purposes only. Always do your own research before making any of these financial decisions as well. To learn more about how you can master your money, visit theinvestorsway.com.au. You are watching Ticker. We'll be right back after this.
You're watching Ticker. We'll have more in just a few minutes.